Have you noticed that when anxiety is high, everything feels urgent? Suddenly you're pulled into a million different places: messages, kids, clients, dishes, half-finished projects. And at the end of the day, the thing that really mattered to your soul never got touched. This happens to me all the time. I want to invite you to a different way of being so that you can actually find grounding and create priorities without anxiety. Join me inside to find out more.
You're listening to the Intuitive Mastery Podcast. Hi, I'm Kate Connolly, and with over 15 years of intuitive healing and teaching experience, I'm here to help you celebrate intuition and value authenticity to create a world where you have the freedom to live your best life. This podcast is here to teach you how to apply the principles of spirituality, healing, and mindset to have true and lasting joy, all from the inside out. This is the Intuitive Mastery Podcast.
Welcome. I'm excited to chat with you guys again. This week, we're actually talking about this concept of anxiety and how it can scatter our channel, our decisions, everything that happens in our lives. And I want to kind of take you through the breakdown as to why that happens, and also why, at the end of the day, our biggest priority has to be our own energy and how we manage it. Because without that, we can't make discerning choices. We can't make intuitive-based things come to fruition. We really need to be able to learn how to slow down and connect into ourselves first. And this does happen to me sometimes, but it used to happen to me like every day. I would be running from the house to the school, from the school to work, from the work to school, from school to home, and home to dinner. And it was just this constant go, go, go. The ability for me to sit down and do this work was almost non-existent. I had to literally beg for time so that I could even spend 1 or 2 hours working on my book that I worked on, and also just various other projects that I was excited about and was filling my soul. And I just want you to realize that if this happens to you, you are not alone, and there are ways out of this. It does feel a bit overwhelming sometimes, but the overwhelm comes from the anxiety, which creates scattered thinking, which creates the inability to make decisions, which creates anxiety. And that loop is something that we find very, very difficult to jump off. So anxiety makes you feel like everything is a priority. There is no discernment. There is no intuitive choices. There is no channeling the best option. It is literally just everything must be done yesterday and I'm already late. And when we sit in that energy, it automatically kind of escalates our nervous system to the point where we're really struggling to function. And it kind of not only creates this really vicious mental loop, but it scrambles your energy field. So your whole energy field becomes messy. And without fail, when someone comes in to my one-on-one work, if they're in person, but also online, you can feel people's energies just frantic and stressful when they're in that anxious state. And even if it's not sitting in their field in this very obvious way, you can usually feel it in their body. And the main way that I helped people to kind of move through that is energetic. We clear the field, we ground the energy, we bring the body back in, we allow just some peace and calm. We bring the energy from and out of here, around the head and around the body, and we bring it back down into our center. And when we can do that, everything just seems to slow down. Our nervous system goes into a parasympathetic nervous system, and it comes out of this really fright and flight reality that most people are living in all the time. What also happens is that your channel, which is your information coming in from source and your highest self, when that becomes scattered, your intuition simply cannot cut through that noise. It is not possible. So everything feels equally important. And the channel, when you know it's scattered, it also comes through very frantically. It may not feel expansive or loving or true. And that's when we start to question ourselves. So if you're trying to understand your own channel, if you're trying to understand your intuitive downloads or your gut responses to something, if you are doubting in any way, if it feels anything less than expansive and at the very worst, neutral, from neutral to expansive is what we're looking for. If there's any emotion attached, it is not your intuition. It is going to be your anxiety. And when your channel is really scattered, it's going to be really hard to get very clear information that way. And this is why we can sometimes say yes to lots of little things and meet that deeper information. We miss the deeper thing that your soul is looking for. We don't meet it, we miss it. And when we miss that information, that's when we go further into despair. We go further into anxiety. We go further into we haven't done enough. There's more things to tick off the list. There's more things that I haven't been able to create. And that vicious loop can be undone. The real issue is that if you are empathic, if you are intuitive, if you are someone who is typically more aware of energy than other people, you're often pulled into other people's priorities as well. So it's not just your own thought patterns. And I have noticed very frequently that even when I am relatively calm and when I've had a really balanced day, I also have to be really mindful how I'm showing up with other people. If any member of my family is feeling anxious or out of sorts, if I do not ground my energy first, if I don't hold a really balanced, healthy space for myself, I will end up feeling their energy as well. And unfortunately, as a healer, I can and have at times brought it on myself and made it my energetic burden. I've taken it off them, yes, but I've burdened myself with stuff that doesn't even belong to me. So a good example is one of my daughters. She came home the other day and she was feeling really anxious about exams. And we were having a conversation and her anxiety was actually getting greater. The more she spoke about it, the worse she got. And then she started kind of throwing blames and complaints out about various aspects of what she was going through. And I and some of my patterning went straight into defensiveness. I wanted to defend myself. I felt criticized because some of it was being thrown at me. And I did actually have to take a minute. And I did say this to her. I just closed my eyes and she knows this is a sign to stop talking. And I just breathed. I regrounded myself. I removed everything that wasn't mine. I cleared my field. I recognized that this was her anxiety and not mine. And even though she impacted me because of my stuff, remember, if I'm completely healed from all of this stuff, I will never, ever be impacted. I will just observe. But because I have a tiny amount of this that happens to me, if I get overwhelmed or if really bad things happen, I can also go into that state. Because I've got that resonance in me, it's something I have to be very energetically mindful of with others. So this is something that I keep working on for myself. And when I have mastered this, I will never be impacted by other people's anxiety. But in that moment, I had this kind of lack of conscious awareness and I needed to pull myself out, ground, clear my own energy, create an energetic separation, and then I could hold space again. And when I opened my eyes and she could visibly see I was different, I felt energetically completely different and emotionally balanced. Then she could keep talking. And instead of winding up, she started winding down and she started feeling a lot more peaceful about it. I was able to hold a better space and she was also able to stay calm as well. And when she was able to come out of her anxiety state, she was also then able to start making discerning decisions about her study, her priorities, and listening to her body. So if this is you, please don't despair, because it is such a difficult thing at times to get out of that anxiety panic loop. And we as humans, especially when we're used to holding spaces all over the place, whether it's family and work and extended family and friends and, if we're used to being the space holders for people, who's going to hold space for us? How do we get the opportunity to slow down and tune in for ourselves, look after ourselves, be energetically sovereign ourselves? And the only way that we can do that is start to recognize if it's happening, how often it's happening, and why. Are there particular areas in your life where you get more wound up? Do you find mornings really exhausting and frustrating? Do you find the evening routine with kids or family or things that you need to get done, do you find that really stressful? Do you find office environments and meetings stressful? What triggers create that anxiety wind up? And when you can start to recognize what they are, you then also get to understand yourself more deeply by asking yourself lots of why questions. Just start to go into this place of getting to recognize your own trigger patterns. And once you can, you then get this ability to start to discern a little bit better. You can do healing processes on why and how you're getting triggered. Work on any belief systems. And a lot of the common belief systems are going to be around being a rescuer. I have to be there for everybody all the time. I have to come last because I am ... whatever it is. Mother, father, healer, the wise one, the older one, the quicker one, like however you've labeled yourself, to make sure that you stay in that role of service to others only, but never to your own energy. That is going to impact your ability to drop that anxiety and start to channel for yourself, start to bring in your own wisdom for you. So sometimes what happens over time is if we're constantly pulling ourselves out, we also get chronic depletion. And chronic depletion is physical stuff in terms of illnesses. It can be depression and anxiety as a long-term undercurrent in your body, but it also leads to constant scattered thinking. All right. So long-term ADHD diagnoses can come from that underlying long-term anxiety based off of trauma or things that have happened to you. Now, trauma doesn't have to be a capital T trauma. It could be absent parents. It could be a difficult upbringing. It could be past life stuff. If you want to know more about that, I do recommend Gabe Mate. He is fantastic. But we also work through a lot of this stuff in the Intuitive Mastery School. So if you want to try and find that one thing that's going to help you de-escalate out of anxiety and ground you back into your body to create discernment, then jump into my Eagle Rising transmission. It's going to help do a beautiful clearing to release that one thing that's stopping your very clear channel and your success forward. The link is down below if you want to join. But I do truly believe that we can jump off this anxiety ladder and jump into a place of balanced peace. And then when we can clear our energy, when we can feel grounded, when we are disconnected from other people's drama, then our intuition can flow. If we have belief systems that are impacting us, then we need to heal them, because without that healing, that channel will still remain cloudy. So it's all about bringing your true priorities back into focus, asking yourself really pointed decisions. So pointed questions, not decisions. Ask yourself, what would your intuition choose first if all this noise disappeared? Give yourself a moment to kind of ask yourself that really poignant question if you are spiraled up. And if you do have the awareness and you are aware that you're being pulled in the moment, that's amazing. You are already well on your way to being able to clear it, because one of the biggest concerns is awareness. Most of the time we become aware of our anxiety spiral after the fact. We become aware of our spiraling emotions an hour later, a day later, a week later, a year later, 20 years later. And if it is super delayed, then obviously we are lacking the ability to become aware of ourselves in the moment and de-escalate in the moment and then reopen our discernment. So please be gentle to yourself. This is a process. I remember years ago, I would go into these anxiety like weeks before or after something really big was happening in my life. And I would only recognize much later, a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, why I was the way that I was. And at the time, I had absolutely no idea where this emotional turmoil was coming on from within me. And nowadays, after many years of practice, I can catch myself in the act. I can actually catch myself almost catching the energy and spiraling up with it, like literally as it happens. And so what I'm learning to recognize and discern with a much more power these days is, I've just caught on to something that is definitely not mine. I'm just going to return that back and I'm going to keep my grounding. And the thing is, if people really want to try and trigger you, they will keep poking. They will go and go and go and go. And it is just one of those things that is going to take discipline. If you don't want to pick it up from other people, you need to be constantly grounding yourself and clearing your field, okay? Removing hooks from your body, removing energetic ties, clearing your auric field and bringing your energy down into the earth. I teach you how to do all of this in the Intuitive Mastery School, amongst many other things. If you want to learn more and if you want to kind of join us in a group where we not only learn the basics, which is what I'm explaining to you, but go into a really deep energetic alignment with things. So what we want to do is we want to clear that root cause. We want to clear the residue as to why that channel is getting blocked. And we want to create a natural flow of true, energetic, light-based discernment from our highest self and source energy, but also from whatever guides we want to call in, our business guides of the light, our health guides of the light, our relationship guides of the light. These energies, these beings are really important to help us understand ourselves more deeply, to give us advice if we need it, and to help us with our priorities, our discernment, and our awareness. So if you want to really get into that in a much more deep way, working through this anxiety kind of loop is such an important thing to do. Recognize first where you're at. Do not judge or get upset with yourself where you're at, because it's really, really easy to do that. But most importantly, remember it's all about energy. Clear, clear, clear energy. Ground often. Allow yourself to just release what isn't yours. Tighten up your energy field, as in clear whatever's impacting it, and bring yourself back to center. And every time you do that, it's going to help you just feel more like yourself. And everything gets calmer. Your mind gets calmer. Your body gets calmer. Your heart slows down. Your channel opens. And real discernment and truth floods in. I hope that was really helpful. Just remember, if you are going into anxiety spirals, it is not your fault. It is something where we often feel pulled in a million directions from a priority perspective. And we often don't understand how we prioritize the most important things. But remember, we have to clear our energy first and then ask discerning questions. Okay, have a fantastic week, and I will see you next time.